It's February 24th, and this is your Monday Microdose. So I'm going to take a little bit of a side road for just a minute. I think I can do that. It's my show, so yeah, I can. But I'm going to beg your indulgence nonetheless. Last week would have marked 17 years from buying my first store. And that, of course, leads one to, reflect and reminisce. And at the same time, I had a visit with some friends that have a similar type of business model. That being, an appointment-based business model. And they actually run, by appointment only. They don't have any kind of open availability at all. And this got me to thinking a little bit. In this day and I guess the first thing is that in the bike business, I've said for a long time, and I wasn't the first to say it, but I've said for a long time that the only thing that we ever had of value, meaning we who were in the bike business, was our knowledge and experience. And for a very, very long time, that was something that we never charged for it. There were attempts in different ways to try to monetize that knowledge and experience, and the first thing that comes to mind is bike fitting. Which reminds me, I'm working on a blog post right now about that basically has to do with my somewhat complicated relationship with bike fitting, and this is a good opportunity for me to say, if you don't subscribe to my emails, you can do that at thepsychicderailer.com. Every time I do a blog post, it also goes out to the email list. I try to write, once a week, and then I also try to write things that are different to the topics that I discuss, either in a podcast or in these videos. So that would be a good opportunity for me to ask you to go and do that. There should be a yellow box actually at the top of the web page where you can just sign up. So the first opportunity, or I guess the first thing that comes to mind when I talk about trying to monetize that knowledge and experience was with bike fitting. And I went to 3 different bike fitting schools over the years. And when companies started producing machines that cost the dealer upwards of $10,000, which then necessitated fitters raising their prices for fits up to, say, $400+, that's where I got off the bus. And I think especially when you consider the bikes that I'm selling now, I'm not going to say fitting is not necessary, but it certainly is less necessary than if you're riding a racing type bike. So where am I going with this? In this day and age, when we as a society, a group of consumers, have become accustomed to getting whatever we want nearly whenever we want it, I and these friends of mine seem to find ourselves in a position where our customers are willing to wait for a certain part, a service job, not inordinate, it's not unreasonable, but still there isn't this expectation that they have to have it now. And I just found it very interesting because maybe we have gotten to a point where the reason that these customers are shopping with them, or if some of you are shopping with me, it is because you see value in my knowledge and experience. I don't know if I'm right, but it was an interesting thought experiment nonetheless. Now, lots of great comments on the last video regarding bike reviews, overviews, and if you follow me on Instagram at @the_psychic_derailer, you'll notice that I have started to kind of try to make the service area more camera ready so that I can get some bikes in the stand and it makes it a little easier to talk about them. And I am going to do that. But I don't have his name, but Fat Bike Big World asked about the differences between the Ogre ECR and Krampus. Now, I don't stock any of these bikes, but I've ridden the ECR. I haven't ridden an Ogre in a while, and I haven't really ever spent that much time on a Krampus, but I can give you kind of a broad overview of who I think would enjoy those bikes. The ECR goes back to the Bridge Club. It's a touring bike that you can ride off-road. It's going to have, a lower bottom bracket, a higher handlebar position. And in case you don't know, when I talk about a lower bottom bracket, and I may have mentioned this before, but if you draw a horizontal line through the axles of the wheels, where the bottom bracket sits below that line, that's what is kind of commonly referred to as bottom bracket drop, and that obviously has an impact on the way the bike rides. Your trail bikes, the bottom brackets are generally going to be higher. If for no other reason, then it's going to cut down on pedal strikes, because when you're at the bottom of the pedal stroke, the pedal's just not going to be as close to the ground. The Krampus is a trail bike, plain and simple. I mean, you can certainly bike pack on it, and I'm sure people do, but its prime directive is going out and riding single track. ECR is a trail bike, and then the Ogre kind of sits somewhere in between. I did own a Troll for a while, and, the Troll and the Ogre I kind of view as two sides of the same coin. They are more, in my mind, and again, I have to state these are just my opinions, they're off-road bikes that you can tour on, where your ECR and your Bridge Club are touring bikes that you can ride off-road. Does that make sense? So you got Krampus on the one hand, which is a trail bike. You got ECR on the other hand, which is a touring bike. And then in the middle, you've got the Ogre. Now here's where it gets interesting. Because the Ogre now is disc brake only, you can mix and match, you can flip around your wheel sizes. So while the Ogre comes standard as a 2.9er, and let me take a sidebar. I have a friend that I mentioned sometime in one of the past videos that sometimes I feel like the old man on the porch. And he said, you ought to do a segment in every video about the old man on the porch. Well, I don't have that many things to grouse about generally. But this wheel size thing has always been stuck in my craw. A 2.9er is just a 700C wheel. Do you know how many people I've talked to over the years that when I tell them that a 2.9er is just a 700C wheel, they're just flabbergasted? Also, the 27.5 size wheel is 650B. 650B has been around since at least the 30s. Somebody can go to Sheldon Brown, you know, and I'm sure find out, because I'm sure at some point Sheldon wrote it down. Why we have to have a different name just because it's on a quote off-road bike, I've never understood. It just, I think, makes it more confusing. So you can put 650B wheels on that Ogre. So as a 2.9er, it's going to handle, I think, more like a mountain bike that certainly has all the attachment points for any kind of bag or rack that you want. But the bottom bracket's going to be higher, the top tube is going to be lower, and the head tube is shorter, so your handlebar position, unless you really max the spacers underneath the stem, the handlebar position is going to be lower. But if you can handle the extra top tube length and you don't mind the lower handlebar position, I would wonder how that bike would ride with a 650B wheel with a 3-inch wide tire. That's very interesting to me. I don't know. If you like a more kind of playful bike, something that you can flick around a little bit more, but you still want to be able to go on tour, that Ogre with 650B wheels is very interesting. It's obviously not going to come with that size wheel, so you're going to have the added expense of not only either buying the frame and building the bike, or buying the complete bike and then buying another set of wheels and tires. So it's obviously going to be a more expensive proposition, but it's still interesting to me nonetheless to have that Ogre with the 3-inch wide tire and the 650B wheel. I have no idea whether that answers your question, but I appreciate the comment nonetheless. That's about all I've got today. So the psychicderailer.com, you can sign up for the emails. You can get your sensible yet adventurous can koozies and t-shirts and all the rest. Yeah. As always, thanks for listening and or watching. Leave a comment, give it a thumbs up, share it with a friend. And if I can answer any more questions, just let me know. Be nice, work hard, ride bikes, play music when you can. I will talk to you soon.